Hey, what's up, GTSM? Welcome to another week with us. This is a special week because I've got great news for you. Pastor Luke and Angela had their baby this week. And so we're changing a little bit about what you're seeing this weekend because he's out with the baby in the hospital. In fact, while I'm recording this, he is at the hospital right now with Angela. Angela and the baby are fine. And they just had a little baby girl. And so I can't wait to show you pictures in the next couple weeks, but I'm going to wait to share those until they do. So we're going to have a message this morning for you this weekend because I don't want to miss a weekend. And I want to challenge you with a thought. This is kind of the thought that I always come back to. I think through this several times a year. And so I thought I'd share it with you. Let me start by saying this. I wonder, are you interested in farming at all? Now, maybe you're like, nah, I don't ever want to be a farmer. Or maybe you're actually watching this and you're like, Pastor Scott, you're so funny. I live on a farm. I don't live on a farm. I have never lived on a farm. And so I don't really understand farming a lot. In fact, I have a friend. His name's Travis. And Travis and Lisa, he and his wife. And so my wife, Lisa, and I, and them are really close friends. So we go out to dinner a lot. And I ask him so many questions about farming that a couple years ago, his wife joked, Lisa, she said, so do you want to be a farmer or something? And I was like, no. I'm just so curious about farming because it's so different from what I do. And so, but here's the one thing about farming that always interests me. I mean, it's the principle of reaping and sowing. And it kind of ties back to the Bible too. So there's a verse in Galatians chapter 6, verse 8. And this is what it says, right? It says, Galatians 6:8 says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Now, these aren't words we use a lot in our vernacular. There's my big word for the day. In our everyday speak today, we don't use words like reaping and sowing, right? But what you could say, the words we would understand are a little more in our current vocabulary would be planting and harvesting, right? A man harvests what he plants. But this is the words from the NIV version of the Bible. A man reaps what he sows. In fact, I'm so interested in farming that as I'm driving to church this morning, so right now this is today is May the 1st. It's gonna be May. Okay, good. Today, as we're recording this, it's May the 1st. While you're watching this, it'll come out on May 5th. So I hope you enjoyed Star Wars Day yesterday. If you don't know what that is, May the 4th be with you. And so, but as I was driving in today, this is the time of the year that I am so intrigued by farming because as I'm driving past fields to get to church, they have hay or straw, or it might even be wheat. I'm not really sure. And so they have all this, these fields are planted with straw or hay or something. And one day I'd asked my friend Travis, I was like, oh yeah, that field is planted with hay. He's like, no, it's straw. And I'm like, I gotta be honest with you, I don't even know the difference between the two. But it intrigues me so much. In fact, there's this one farm that I passed on my way in. This time of year, it's May. They grow some kind of straw, like straw, hay, something like that, right? And then as soon as they cut it down, which will be in a couple weeks, about 2 or 3 weeks from now, they'll cut that down, and then they immediately plant corn, and then corn grows then for the rest of the summer until the fall when they cut it down and harvest it. And so it's so intriguing to me, and this verse just sticks out to me. Galatians chapter 6, verse 8. I memorized it when I was probably in elementary school. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Now, here's what's interesting about this. So this talks about a man, let's use our words, right? A man harvests what he plants. And then before that, it says God cannot be mocked. So there's a nod to the fact that God is the creator of the universe, right? Because if you plant something, right, you're going to harvest whatever it is that you plant. And we shouldn't assume that we're going to harvest anything other than we plant because God can't be mocked. He's the creator of the universe who set in motion everything that happens around us as far as creation. And yes, we have a free will with how we do that stuff. In other words, we plant things and then we can harvest them. But in this idea, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. There's three constants that I have held on to for years in my life when it comes to this idea of planting and harvesting, of reaping and sowing. And this is what they are. Are you ready? Here it is, the first one. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Now, if I go out into my backyard, because I have a house and I have a backyard, and I plant an apple tree, do you know what I'm going to get? If everything works well, if I plant it correctly, if I take care of it, if I tend the soil and keep the weeds out, eventually I will get an apple tree. Now, in order to be able to have an apple tree that'll actually grow apples, it takes several years so that I can actually get an edible apple. I think it's like 7 years, I read one time, in preparation for another message. But you know what I won't get? I won't get bananas. If I plant an apple tree in my backyard, students, I am not getting bananas. No, I'm getting an apple. Why? Because you reap what you sow. All right, you reap what you sow. Here's the next thing. You reap where you sow. So go back to my illustration. If I go into my backyard, now I live in Leesport, Pennsylvania, and if I go into my backyard, it's funny, in my neighborhood, I am the only house in the neighborhood, at least I think that I am, that does not have a riding lawnmower. And I have mower envy every time I go mow my grass. And the reason I don't have a riding lawnmower is because I really don't need it. It takes me about an hour to mow my grass, pushing it with my push mower. Okay, when I say push mower, it's like an automatic. You walk behind it, you push it, and it goes. But my point is, I don't need a riding mower. Now, my neighbors, their yard is probably 3 times the size of mine. And so they need a riding lawnmower. I just happen to have one of the smallest backyards in the neighborhood. In fact, if you look at an aerial view of my backyard looks like the state of Nevada. My neighbor's backyard looks like a giant rectangle, okay? It's the width of their house plus a little bit on each side, and it just goes back, probably 50, 60, 70 yards, okay? That's how big they're. My yard goes back about 20 yards or whatever, because I'm on kind of a weird angle. The house next to mine has the corner. And so I don't have as much to mow, but go back to my thing. If I planted an apple tree, an apple seed in my backyard, I would reap what? I would reap an apple tree. Here's the next thing. You reap where you sow. Do you know that if I plant an apple tree in my backyard, and unless something happens to that seed, someone picks it up and moves it, an animal picks it up and moves it, an act of God himself, like hurricane, whatever, picks the seed up and moves it, I am going to get an apple tree where? In my backyard, where I planted it. Okay, that's important. So you reap what you sow, you reap where you sow, and the last one is you always reap more than you sow. The best way I can describe it is this. Have you ever eaten corn on the cob? Or have you ever seen a corn kernel? So one kernel of corn is a seed, or have you ever seen a seed in order to plant a corn stalk? You plant a seed, you get a corn stalk. Every corn stalk has 2 ears of corn on it. Every ear of corn there's actually a number, it's really crazy. Like, I don't know what the number is, there's several hundred kernels of corn on the ear. So from that one seed, let's say it's 300, it's around there, I don't exactly know off the top of my head. So from that one seed of corn, you get approximately 600 kernels of corn out of planting that one seed. Why? Because you always reap more than you sow. Use my apple tree illustration. I'm going to plant an apple seed. It's a very small seed. I'm going to plant a little apple seed. And let's say everything goes well. And I plant it in my backyard. And what do I get? I get an apple tree. A couple years. And where's the apple tree? It's in the backyard where I planted it, because that's because I reap where I sow. And you know what? You reap more than you sow, because I planted a little apple seed and I got an apple about the size of a baseball. Okay, maybe bigger, maybe smaller. But I got an apple that I could eat. And here's what's amazing. And if I get like 7 or 8 apples, I can make an apple pie out of that. And so, which I'm always excited about because I love apple pie. And so, but here's the point. You reap what you sow. You reap where you sow, and you always reap more than you sow. So that's great, Pastor Scott. I'm glad you gave us a lesson in farming today. Yeah, but how does it apply to you? Well, this is what I would say today. What you invest in yourself matters. If you invest in your spiritual life with God, you're going to get out of it positive things in your spiritual life with God. Why? Because you reap what you sow, and you reap where you sow it, and you reap more than you sow every single time. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Galatians chapter 6, verse 8. Because what you invest in yourself matters. So students, here's my challenge for you today. It's more of a question. What are you investing in yourself? What are you doing to improve your walk with Jesus? Hey, if you need help with that, why don't you reach out to us? Send us a DM on Instagram at gt.sm. Send us an email, gtsm@gtaog.org. We'd love to come alongside you and help you in your spiritual walk. Because this is so true, this principle of what you invest in yourself matters, because I want good things to come out of my life because that's what I've invested in my life. Let's pray. Jesus, I thank you for each and every student that's watching this today. God, I pray that you would use them to change their world. Jesus, we love you. I thank you. I praise you for what you're doing in their lives. Bless them this week, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen.